What is up, Bulldogs? All right, I got another book review for you today. I'm going to kind of adjust my camera here. I am staying with some relatives here for Thanksgiving. So the book I want to talk to you about today is Atomic Habits by James Clear. Now, if you've been watching this channel for a while, you may have seen the interview that I did with James Clear when he launched the book Atomic Habits. Okay, you can check that out here. Definitely check out the book. And I'll give you just to cut to the chase here, it's an excellent book. At the time that I interviewed James, I had read a lot of his blog posts. I was very familiar with him. Definitely one of those guys that thinks a lot like I do, right? There's a certain group of guys that, that I resonate with, bloggers and YouTubers that, we have the same kind of philosophies in life, right? We structured our life a very similar way, right? And I'd say what's really in common with most of us is that we don't aim for goals, we aim for systems, right? Systems guys is who I tend to have the most in common with in terms of philosophy, right? And just reading a lot of books, right? And James is one of those guys. So at the time that I interviewed him, I had not read Atomic Habits. I didn't have an advanced copy, but I had a pretty good idea this was going to be a good book on habits. And I quizzed him and I kind of asked him the questions of, hey, why Charles Duhigg wrote The Power of Habit, right? And Tynan wrote Superhuman by Habit. Those were probably Superhuman by Habit. That had been my favorite book on habits. And up till the time, so I asked him, I said, why this book? And he gave some good reasons, I think, in the interview. But when you read Atomic Habits, it's very clear that this is now the book on habits. And I could say that hands down, right? This book went up to become a New York Times. I think it made it number 3 or 2, might have even hit 1 at point on the New York Times bestseller list. And it deserved it, honestly. It is concise, it is clean, it is tight. And it is just well done, just extremely well organized. Pretty much everything that you need to know about building habits, just condensed. Such good information in there. Everything that I have learned in my life about building habits in my life is entirely based on systems, which come from habits. Okay, everything that I am able to do in life, from the crazy workouts that I do, to running marathons, to staying lean and eating 1 meal a day, to producing 2 videos a day every day for fucking 3 years, to writing the blog posts, to gosh, you name it, all the kind of crazy shit that I do, all of it comes from habits and from building habits. So habits and systems are critical. That's how you're going to achieve your goals. Writing a book it's a habit of writing, right? Writing blog posts, building a YouTube channel, building a business, it all comes down to habits. And so it's critical, right? So the book, he basically just outlines, he's done the stories in there that illustrate the point so you can remember the stories that got him started on habits. He's used a lot of the scientific studies on habits that you've heard in a lot of the pop sci books. A lot of times I don't like when authors repeat that, but he's got it down to the point where it is very specific to the point that he's trying to teach, and it is very concise. There's really no fluff in the book at all. He repeats himself as a summary, which helps to reinforce the points, and he does that multiple points along so that you can get the idea of what it takes to build habits, right? The idea of making them easier, the idea of attaching a reward to them, right? A lot of really, really powerful concepts for building habits. The idea that the repetitions matter more than the weight, right? What that means is essentially he talks about, I think a lot of people talked about micro habits, but he really expounds on the idea that why this is important is that if you continually do something and make it a habit, the number of repetitions, that's what develops a habit, and then you can always expand that later, right? The idea of habit stacking, of putting habits together with things that are already habits that you're already doing. Again, I think Charles Duhigg talked about this a little bit in his book, but I think James does a really good job of making this extremely clear and making it very concise and something that you can follow and you can understand how this works. So I really liked it, really thought it was good. The only side drawback that I had from the book, which I don't know, it depends on what style you like. I usually like it when authors go off the script on the audio version. I listened to the audio version, which again, it was concise, it was nice. It was a fairly short book because it didn't have any fluff in it. But I would have liked to hear James go off a little bit off the record. That's a style that I do my audiobooks in, but I understand. I mean, he did very concise, clear format. That's his way of communicating things, and he did a stellar job on it. Really, it'd be difficult for me to think of a better book that you could write on habits, honestly. I don't say that a lot about a lot of books, but this is one of those books that I'm going to recommend all the time. Again, Superhuman by Habit by Tynan is still a top pick of mine, but I think James Clear with Atomic Habits is edging him out. And you have to understand here also, this is a book that I did not necessarily want to like because there's already books on habits, because we already know about habits. This is sort of a dead horse being beaten in my mind, like, let's stop talking about habits. But he rewrote it. He said, okay, I'm going to take everything that you guys know, everything that's out there in popular psychology about habits, everything that's in the popular books about habits, plus some additional stuff, and I'm going to boil it down to a simple formula, to the best lessons, to the wisdom that you can take from this, and go in depth with this, and put together finally the fucking manual that is going to tell you exactly why to build habits, how to build habits, and where to go from there. And I think he's done a great job of it, honestly. It's going to be a book that I highly recommend to people, and it's going to take one of the top slots here. So if you haven't read this book already, go get it. Again, it'll be in the cards. The link will be in the description below. I listened to the audio version. He narrated it. He did a great job on it. Fantastic to listen to. I'd recommend that version. All right, guys, that's all I got for you today. Hey, if you haven't already, go check out the Bulldog quiz to see if you're a Bulldog, what you score. About I can't remember how many people now. It's like a couple thousand people have taken that quiz and gotten their Bulldog score and shared it. Do that. Take the quiz, share it. I want to know, where you're at. It's good, honest self-assessment. And when you sign up, I'll send you some additional information to help you along the way to develop that Bulldog mindset. That's the whole point of this channel. So, all right, guys, that's all I got for you today. I will talk to you next time. Take care.